Apps can do a lot of cool things. You could order dinner, gamble on your favorite team, and track your health. You could even get a mortgage. One click and you can be approved. I'm not sure by who or what country they're in. You deserve more from the mortgage industry. At AnyMac Home Mortgage, we believe in the need for live human interaction during a very complex process. The kind of service and guidance which an app simply can't provide. Our customers are more than credit scores and income documents. They're individuals and families who live in and strengthen our communities. Their story is our story, and that story begins in a home. Chris Sawyer is an expert on providing superior customer service and in meeting the mortgage needs of current and future homebuyers. With over 18 years of experience in the industry, Chris is able to help customers migrate through the home buying and home financing process by using his wealth of knowledge as a well-qualified mortgage professional. And best of all, Chris is located in Cromwell, Connecticut, where he has helped hundreds of clients in Connecticut, Massachusetts, and Rhode Island make their dreams of homeownership a reality. Visit chrissawyer.any-mac.com. Email him at csawyer@any-mac.com or give him a call, 860-878-8730.
Chris Sawyer, NMLS number 39345, corporate NMLS number 338923. AnyMac Home Mortgage is an equal housing lender. American Neighborhood Mortgage Acceptance Company, LLC. DBA AnyMac Home Mortgage. Lo-Fi Direct. Connecticut First Mortgage Correspondent. License lender. Broker number ML 338923. Massachusetts Mortgage Lender and Mortgage Broker License number MC 338923. Rhode Island License Lender. License number 2011210L. Call for additional details.
Welcome to Sports Talk with R&J. I am Steve Risser, along here with Justin Offrif. So we got the Celtics headed to the NBA Finals, the Rangers and Panthers, but another overtime game in the Eastern Conference Finals. But we got to start with the Timberwolves. We got to start with the T-Wolves saving their season last night. They keep their season alive with a 105-100 win over the Mavericks, thanks to Anthony Edwards, 29 points, Karl Anthony Towns, 25 points. Karl Anthony Towns was huge in the fourth quarter, hitting three huge threes. Anthony Edwards hitting two huge shots. Finally stepped up late in the game in this series. Edwards finally steps up late in the game to win a game in this series. And the T-Wolves, they keep their season alive. They win last night. There will be a game 5. I was hoping they won last night because they didn't want 2 sweeps in the NBA playoffs. So they win last night. They keep their season alive. And Justin, what were your thoughts on last night with the Timberwolves?
Yeah, Minnesota was able to kind of finally close out a game. You know, it was the same thing like in the other series with the Pacers. The Pacers had multiple chances as well, and they could never capitalize. And Timberwolves finally got it done last night. And yeah, Edwards played really well. Karl Anthony Towns, third quarter, I think, get 20 points, and he was shooting 14% from 3 coming in, during the Western Conference Finals. And last night went 4 for 5, and he really stepped up, and they needed it. And it was a big one for the Timberwolves last night. And Luka and Kyrie both kind of had off days. They both didn't shoot the ball particularly well. And, besides Jaden Hardy, nobody else really shot the ball well at all for Dallas. So that's kind of the big concern. And the other guy, and finally, Edwards and Towns do enough there, and they pulled on and get a win.
Yeah, and you brought up, how you compare them to compared this series to the Pacers series. The difference, though, with the T-Wolves is they got that guy to close out games. That's Anthony Edwards. The Pacers didn't have those last 2 games because Tyrese Halliburton was out, and Tyrese Halliburton is not even close to as good as Anthony Edwards is. They have that guy, Anthony Edwards. Yes, Anthony Edwards has really struggled in this series. We saw that turnover at the end of game 2. We saw, him scoring 2 points in the last 5.5 minutes of game 3. So he's definitely struggled late in games. Luka has definitely been much better than him late in the games. But last night, he was able to step up. He was able to step up and get the job done and keep the Timberwolves season alive. And they'll be playing in Minnesota on Thursday night. And now we'll get to what the Timberwolves have to do to pull off a historic comeback. Because the next time we're on the air, it's going to be the NBA Finals. So the big question is, what do the T-Wolves got to do to pull off a historic comeback? The Celtics almost did it last year, fell 1 game short. They ended up losing game 7 to the Heat. What does Minnesota have to do to pull off a historic comeback? And number 1 for me, Ant-Man. Ant-Man's got to continue to be great in the clutch like he was last night. Hit those 2 huge shots in the clutch. And that's why that was the big reason why they won last night. And then number 2, pretty obvious, Karl Anthony Towns. He was huge. He had struggled in the series, but he was huge last night. Hit 4 threes, and those threes he hit were so crucial. They were 3 of those 4 were in the fourth quarter. He was great in the fourth quarter. That's why they won that game. And number 3, the supporting cast got to be more consistent. J.D. McDaniels got to play like he did in game 1. Naz Reid, he's got to play like he did in game 2. And Mike Conley, he's got to play like he did in game 3. The supporting cast has to be more consistent. For me, that's what it's going to take for the Timberwolves to pull off a historic comeback and get to Boston on Thursday night. No, get to Boston next Thursday.
Yeah, for me, number one for me it's Edwards. I have him to be more aggressive in going to the rack. And I thought he did a better job of that last night. And I wonder because he hasn't for most of the series. I wonder, when he took that hard foul in Game 6 against Denver, he went down. He was down for a few minutes there, and and maybe it's something, but his back's been bothering him. But I felt like last night he was a lot more aggressive. Number two for me is kind of got to be better in closing out games. The first couple, they had leads. I think they had an 18-point lead second quarter, in game number two, and it should be a much tighter series, like a 2-2 series, or like maybe even them up 3-1, they're able to close out games. So maybe it's been a little bit of the inexperience, but some of it too has been Luka and Kyrie have been so good in the clutch, and maybe at some point those two, like last night, shots weren't falling for them late. And then the third one, you need to have a big performance, out at Naz Reid. I know because Cat played well last night. You didn't get a ton from Naz Reid, but Cat's to me, I'm still kind of. I know he played well last night, but could he replicate it 2 games in a row? And if not, Naz Reid's got to be kind of the guy. I think he's played pretty well this postseason at home. And, even though I know the Wolves the last 5 games, the playoffs at home, they're 1-4. They haven't been great at home, but I expect like a Naz Reid to have a big performance, offensively, even on the defensive end of the floor.
Yeah. Naz Reid's got to be a key. But I like that you brought up Luka and Kyrie, and that's going to lead us to the Mavs. And that's going to lead me to my first point about the Mavs. And for them to close out the series on Wednesday night, or them to close out the series Wednesday, Saturday, or even Monday, Luka and Kyrie, they've been a great duo in this series. And they weren't last night. Kyrie had an off game last night, but Luka and Kyrie have been the duo they thought they were going to get when they traded for Kyrie last February. I mean, they were great last night. They were great the first 3 games. Weren't great last night, but they were great the first 3 games. And yeah, if the Mavs want to close this thing out, they both have to be great. And Luka's got to be the guy at the end, and he has been. The reason they're up 3-1 is because Luka has been so good at the end of games, especially at the end of game 1. The end of game 2 doesn't need to be spoken about. The step back yet on Rudy Gobert there. That was outstanding. So Luka's got to continue to be great in those spots, and him and Kyrie got to be Batman and Robin, and they were for the first 3 games of the series. And if they do that in game 5, I think there's a good chance they don't even have to go back to Dallas on Saturday nights, and they'll have some rest before they play the Celtics on Thursday in the finals. So yeah, I think that Luka and Kyrie are definitely key. And then just like all postseason, the supporting cast has got to get it done. I think they still need some more of the supporting cast. PJ Washington, yes, he had that big 3 in game 3, but I think they need more out of him. If they need more out of Gafford, they also need more out of Derek Jones. So they need more of the supporting cast, and they'll definitely need more out of it, especially if Derek Lively can't play in game 5 or 6. So yeah, for me, those are the 3 things. Luka's got to continue to be great. Luka and Kyrie got to be Batman and Robin, and the supporting cast has got to get it done for the Mavs.
Yeah, number one for me, I guess same way as you. Yeah, Kyrie and Luka have been so good, and for the first 3 games of the series, Luka and Kyrie have outscored Luke, outscored Cat and Edward by 70 points, and last night it kind of flipped, and T-Wolves and Wolf and Edwards and Cat outscored Luka and Kyrie 54-44. So those two, yeah, they've been so good at late game situations, knocking out big shots. So if those two are on, getting game 5, Dallas, I see winning this game. And number 2 for me is, who kind of steps up at the center spot, for Derek Lively's absence. Because I felt like last night, maybe one of the reasons why Edwards more aggressive was because Derek Lively was out, and he's been so good defensively down low. But he's been giving them something as well on the offensive end of the floor, which has helped them too. So I think Derek Lively is a huge loss if he can't come out. Just the way the presence he gives defensively down low, and rebounding as well. So who kind of step up? I know they got Max Lee back last night, but he really didn't do much at all. And then my third one is you got to get the other kind of the supporting cast, because Kyrie and Luka have been so good this series, but when they're off, you need a couple of the other guys to step up and play well. And PJ Washington wasn't great last night. It's really only Jaden Hardy that played well off the bench. So the supporting cast, when Luka and Kyrie aren't getting it going, they need some help, and they didn't get it last night, and they need to do that going forward.
You talked about Lively being out and how Ant-Man has been more aggressive. That's a really good point because I thought Ant-Man was more aggressive than he was in the series. Than he was in the first 3-game series. I thought he was more aggressive. Yes, and if Lively is out, yeah, I'm not saying Derek Lively is a huge loss, but yes, it definitely can affect the way Anthony Edwards plays and the way Anthony Edwards can get other guys involved. You saw the way he almost had a triple-double last night, and you saw the way he got Cats involved, especially late in the game. So yes, Derek Lively, I'm not saying it, for me, it's not a humongous loss, especially in the offensive side, but on the defensive side, it is a loss because of the way Anthony Edwards plays when he's not there.
Yeah, absolutely. You saw Timberwolves kind of get easy buckets down low. I know Gafford's not bad down low, but Lively's is still a little bit better than he is. But yeah, Anthony Edwards, his game kind of changed last night. Because at times felt like he was settling early on in the series. I don't know. I know the end of the game, I think it was 2. He had the oxygen mask on. I don't know what was going on there, but that was weird to see that. But yeah, Minnesota was able to kind of get it to the rack more, be able to kind of finish down low, and they didn't have to worry about it, Derek Lively. So yeah, it's a big loss on the defensive end. Yeah, maybe not on the offensive side, but he'll get in his tip-ins and he'll give you like 8 to 10, which Kyrie and Luka are on. That's kind of what you need from somebody.
Yeah, exactly. So for the way this series is going to end, my prediction of the series is going to end. I think Minnesota wins game 5, and I actually think this is the one game that's a double that is decided by double digits in this series. I think Minnesota wins it. I think they win it by double digits. I think being at home, I think their role players will play better. I think Dallas's role players won't play as well in this game. I think we saw what happened to Minnesota when they played at home in Game 6 against the Nuggets. They blew them out. I don't think they'll beat them by. Obviously, I don't think they beat them by 50, but I think they win this one by double digits. I think they win this one comfortably. But when this series shifts back to Dallas with a chance for them, the Mavs, they'll remember them blowing a chance last night of getting to the NBA Finals. I think that's where the Mavs close this thing out. I did pick the Wolves in 7, but I'm going to change it. I think the Mavs close this thing out. I think they got a little bit more experience. The experience was played a factor against the Thunder, and I think it's going to be a close game 6. And I think experience is going to play a factor again. And that's why I know I had the T-Wolves winning this before the series, but as of now, I'm changing it. And that's why I got the Mavs heading to the NBA Finals for the first time since 2011. I got the Mavericks winning this in 6 and facing the Celtics in the finals.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with 6 games as well because I don't know if Lively's gonna play in Game 5, and I think Minnesota's be able to get easy buckets down low like they did last night, which is gonna affect them. But yeah, I think that thing goes back to Dallas, and they're able to close it out. The other thing in this series too, I feel like for Minnesota, first 2 rounds, they were able to get away with their physical play, their handsy, like they were able to get away with it. In this series, they've really tightened things up, and the fouls. I think 23. I think they had last night. Did 24 in Game 3. Like they've called a lot of fouls. So if they call it really tight again, I could see Dallas going the free throw line and winning a game that way. But I think at home, if there's no Lively, I do feel like Timberwolves get it done at 5, but Dallas finishes them off in Game 6.
Yeah. I just it's tough for me to see the Timberwolves ending this thing on their home floor. I think they extend it to Saturday night, and these teams are too evenly matched. I think for it to be a 5-game series, that's why I had a good feeling the Timberwolves were going to win on last night. And let's be honest, they should have won Game 2. I mean, they had Game 2 won. They had a 5-point lead with a little over a minute to go. They should have won Game 2. But yeah, I just don't see this being less than a 6-game series. That's why I think the Mavs win. I think the Timberwolves are a really good team with the top player in Anthony Edwards, and obviously the Mavericks are a really good team. I don't think as talented as the Wolves, but they're a really good team. But the difference in the series has been Luka at the end of games versus Ant-Man at the end of games, and the duo of Ant-Man and Luka, Luka and Kyrie versus the duo of Ant-Man and Cats. That's been the difference. And Ant-Man and Luka and Kyrie have definitely outplayed Ant-Man and Cats, especially when it's mattered. That's why, even though the Wolves won last night, I still think the Mavs win the series.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I think maybe it's a little bit inexperience coming in for Edwards, who, really first time that they're gone, that he's kind of been on a playoff run. And same thing with Karl-Anthony Towns, why Luka, he's made a conference finals before, Kyrie too, he's won a final. So I think too, maybe a little bit of inexperience has hit the Timberwolves here, and the veteran play of Kyrie and Luka that have shown out here. And yeah, when those two are on late in games, it's tough to stop them. And they've been so good, and that you feel like at some point, yeah, like last night they kind of towards the end, it wasn't like every shot was falling like early on. So Yeah, the way Kyrie and Luka's play, it's been phenomenal, and they've both been really fun to watch. And look, the thing's always been with Kyrie when he keeps his head engaged and he's all in on basketball. He can be a really terrific basketball player, and yeah, him and Luka fit really well. And Dallas too, making the decisions that they did at the deadline, getting PJ Washington and Daniel Gafford, have been huge too for that defense and really changed the team. So yeah, Dallas, good organization, and they're going back to they finished one more, they get one more, yeah, they'll go back to finals for the first time in 13 years.
Yeah, and you made a great point with Kyrie. He's locked in. He's focused on winning now, and that wasn't the case when he left. That hasn't been the case since he left LeBron James in Cleveland. I mean, we saw what happened in Boston. He held back Tatum and Brown. It didn't work at all. We all know about the Nets disaster. The time off he took multiple times. Running James Harden out of there. We saw the issues in Brooklyn, but he learned from the issues that happened in Brooklyn, and he learned from what happened with the Celtics and the Nets, and he's really locked in right now. And I really like the way. Yeah, he didn't have a great game last night, but I really like the way Kyrie is playing. He's taking the back seat, and he's really focused on his role, being the number 2 guy. And we saw years ago what happened when he was the number 2 behind LeBron James. They won a championship, and he hit the big shot.
Yeah, absolutely. He's a terrific player. Yeah, and I think at a point, yeah, he just, think he kind of, figured out that at a point you can't keep getting away with all of that. What happened in Brooklyn, and then what you did to Boston. Giving the fans a middle finger. Stepping on the logo. They
That's going to be interesting if they play. Those fans are ready for him. Those fans are ready.
Oh yeah, that's going to be a tough environment for him to walk into. Yeah, he lied to the Boston fans about being there. Wanting to be there. So yeah, for Kyrie, yeah, he's been focused. It definitely seems like he's learned his lesson, and yeah, he's been fun to watch. And yeah, we've seen him win a title before and hit big shots, and they're primed to do that again.
Oh, absolutely. They definitely are. They definitely are. Now, speaking of the Celtics, we will move on to the Celtics. And the Celtics on Monday night advanced to their 23rd NBA Finals in franchise history. Their second in 3 years. And the big question for the Celtics is going to the finals is which is the better matchup for them, the Mavs or the T-Wolves? And I'm going to say the Mavs, and here's why. Even though the Mavs will clearly, without question, have the best player on the floor, and probably the third best player, and arguably could be the second best player with Kyrie. I'd say third. No. I mean, they'd have to probably the third best player on the floor with Kyrie Irving. I think when you go to player like you go to player like 5, 6, 7, and 8. Those are all going with the Celtics. Say KP plays. Say Drew Holiday plays. Say KP plays, and then you have Drew Holiday, and then you got Derek White. The Celtics would definitely have the better team. And that's why I think it would be the better matchup. Also, if the Timberwolves do somehow make this historic comeback, I think they have a lot more would have a lot more momentum than the Mavs going into the finals. Either way, the Celtics would have home court, and I think either way it's going to be a really tough series for the Celtics. But I would say their better matchup would be the Mavs, even though the Mavs clearly have the best player. The Celtics are clearly the better team, and the Mavs would not have as much momentum.
Yeah, I have the Timberwolves, and I think last week I had the Mavericks, but this week I have Minnesota. Because if they do come back 3-0, and I get your point of like the momentum, but like how much energy have they exerted trying to come back? Now you got to go because game 5 or game 7 will be Monday. Now you got to go out to Boston for Thursday night. And again, going back to Edwards in game 2, like with the oxygen, like he's 22, like. Is that something like if he goes game 7 here, he gets deep into a Boston series, is he going to have anything left in the tank? That's what worries me. And then, Karl-Anthony Towns, I just don't trust. And, I know Boston did a really good job of closing out games against Indiana, but the way Luka and Kyrie are, it's going to be a lot tougher to close out games than it was to beat Indiana. So the Timberwolves inexperience, just because, Dallas with Kyrie and Luka are just, I know Drew Holiday played really well defensively and he had some good scoring outputs in that Pacers series, but I think Celtics could have a difficult time with Kyrie and Luka late in games, and because Jaylen Brown was really good in clutch time. Tatum had a couple good moments. He loves that step back 30-foot three that never goes in for him, but I think the and two with the Timberwolves, if the game continues to be called as tight as it has this series, I think the Celtics could live at the free throw line too in the finals, which would be a huge advantage for them. So I got the Timberwolves being a little bit easier of a matchup for Boston than the Mavericks.
You talked about though how but I think it's going to be tight either way. I think it's going to be tight either way. It's going to be a tough series for the Celtics either way. Both are really, really good teams. Both are definitely a step up of competition from what they've been facing. But give the Celtics credit. I mean, they went 12-2 in the playoffs. They didn't lose a road game in the entire postseason. Even though yes, the competition wasn't great, it's not their fault. The competition was what the competition was. So I give them credit for being there, but this will definitely be a tougher series on them. And yeah, say they face Luka and Kyrie or Edwards in the finals. Tatum cannot hide late in the game like he did in game one of that Pacer series. He's got to be the guy to step up late in games. And he did a good job in game three of that big assist to Al Horford. But it seems like in that Pacers series, I know Tatum played really well in games 2, 3, and 4, but it seemed like in the end of games, other guys were the guys who made the big play. You had Jaylen Brown hitting that big Jaylen Brown hitting the 3-pointer in game 1. You had Drew Holiday getting the and one in the steal in game 3, and then you had Derek White hitting the big 3 in game 4.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, that's great that the Celtics do have other guys that can step up around them and hit shots late in games. But yeah, at some point, one of those guys might be off, maybe even two of them, and that's when Jason Tatum's got to be kind of the guy to hit the big shot late. So yeah, that's something, for Tatum to kind of be more aggressive. And again, he shot 3 for 11 from 3 again in game 4. Again, he's so much better when he goes to the basket. The 3 ball hasn't been falling for him this postseason, and he's got to be more aggressive going to the basket. But yeah, get the Celtics. Look, last year maybe this Pacers series goes 6. Maybe that they've had that habit of playing around with their food, but they have taken care of business. And yeah, it's not their fault that the Heat have had injuries. The Cavs were a pretender, and the Pacers, Halliburton went down, but that whole series changed after game 1. That the Pacers could not close that game out, and give the Celtics credit. They took care of business. So yeah, was it pretty most of the time? No, but they got it done. And yeah, to go 12-2 and to be undefeated on the road and to beat a Pacers team that hadn't lost at home since March. So yeah, the Celtics good. But yeah, Tatum end the game against Dallas. He's gonna probably have to hit some big shots, and he can't rely on everybody else to do it for him. So he's got to step up and hit those shots when the time comes for him.
Yeah, and granted, Halliburton didn't play in those 2 games in Indiana, but they won them. They won them both. They came back and won them both. Even though Halliburton didn't play, they won them both. So give him credit for that. But here's the thing with Tatum. He did not play that well in the finals 2 years ago. He can't have another bad finals appearance and even be considered a top 5 player in the league. Now, say he has a big series and he's the finals MVP, then you could argue he's a top 5 player in the league. But he can't have another series like he did against the Warriors 2 years ago and be considered as a top 5 player in the league.
No, absolutely not. This is the moment's going to be right on him. There's a ton of talk on him about can he get it done? Can he finally get the Celtics over the hump? And yeah, there's going to be a ton of pressure on him in this finals to deliver that. And yeah, with his size, with his skill, he's during the regular season he shot 37% from 3. So he generally is a good shooter. It just hasn't fallen so far in the postseason. He could score at all 3 levels. So yeah, he's an outstanding player. But yeah, the time is when the lights get bright they do in the finals, he's got to step up and be the guy. I know Jaylen Brown did a really good job in the Pacers series. You mentioned Derek White too, had a big shot in game 3. But yeah, Jason Tatum's got to be the guy late to deliver, and to be that top player, to kind of be in that conversation. Yeah, he's got to have an outstanding series, and he's got to be the best player on the floor.
Yeah. I mean, no, I would say best player on the floor, because if they play the Mavs or the T-Wolves, he's not the best player on the floor, even if they somehow win the series. But he can't just have he's got to step up in big situations. He's got to step up in the big situations when the moment, if they get into if they're up too late, he's got to hit that big shot, because he can't just rely on Jaylen Brown to hit a shot or Drew Holiday to hit a shot. Because one thing, if they play the Mavs, Luka's gonna have a big game. If they play the T-Wolves, Ant-Man's gonna have a big game. So he can't really rely on, in this, if he gets to the finals, he can't rely on, Jaylen Brown hitting the big shot or Drew Holiday hitting the big shot or Derek White hitting the big shot. He has got to be that guy to hit that big shot, and he's got to be the guy to have that series. And that's going to be key for the Celtics. That's going to be really, really key. You can get away with, hiding in the fourth quarter against the Pacers in game one against a team that you're clearly better than. But the Celtics, yes, they're going to have the overall team. They're going to have the better overall team. But they won't have the best player in the series. Luka and Ant-Man are going to be the better player in the series no matter who they play. So Jason Tatum, he's got to be on pretty much every single game, and he's got to hit big shots in this game if the Celtics want to get banner 18.
Yeah, absolutely. Luka, Kyrie been so good, and if you get the Timberwolves, Towns is on. Nadri's had a pretty good postseason. Mike Conley's done a pretty good job. Even on the defensive end of the floor. So, yeah, like it's not going to be easy series for them. And yeah, if they rely on Jaylen Brown, and then and if Tatum kind of relies on the Drew Holidays of the world to hit shots, yeah, they could definitely lose that series because of that. So yeah, Tatum's got to be aggressive in the fourth quarter, late in games. Go to the basket, go try to draw a foul. Don't settle if the shot's not falling for you that day. But look, he's an outstanding player, so I think he can do it. But yeah, we just haven't seen it yet. And look, there's a ton of pressure on those two in in that Boston market that they got to get it done because the way it's gone so far in the postseason, yeah, they've taken care of business. Again, they got the 1 seed. They're supposed to have the easiest road. But yeah, they were by far the best team in the regular season, and to not finish this thing off would be pretty disappointing.
Yeah, I wouldn't say I would say the season's a failure if they don't finish it off because you're losing to a good team in the finals. But yeah, it would be disappointing because it'd be their second trip to the finals, and they would lose with home court advantage.
Yeah, which they lost 3-4 games all year. I know they've lost 2 in the postseason, but yeah, Boston's a tough place to play. They're usually really good at home for the most part. I know they have had their shows last years at home in the postseason. They're like 17-15, 18-15. It's not great, but yeah, you got to take care of business at home. And Dallas has been a team that's been able to go on the road and get steal games, and Minnesota's been arguably better the last couple of rounds on the road than they have at home. So it's definitely gonna be difficult. Yeah, it wouldn't totally be disappointing. For the Boston fans, it would be, and there'd be a lot of talks of you got to break this thing up, but yeah, you got the finals. You won 64 games, which is unbelievable. But yeah, it's a team that they have to win it this year to really kind of silence it. And again, Tatum's contract's going to be coming up soon. You already paid Jaylen Brown $60 million. He's going to want more. It's just a lot of money to, $125 million on 2 guys. It's tough to build a team around them, and they haven't shown you that they could win a title yet. Is it worth having those 2 together? So that's kind of the big question. They can't finish this thing off.
Yeah, that's why this year is very crucial for them. That's why this year is very crucial for them. They have the best overall team. This is the best opportunity. Yeah, if we sit here in 2 weeks and the Celtics don't win the championship and they lose to the Mavs or the T-Wolves, we'll be talking about they had a really good year, but we're talking about another blown opportunity for this group. And there's just been a lot of blown opportunities for this group over the last 5-6 years.
Yeah, there has, and they've had so many great players over there that have been closers and finishers in finals appearances. So yeah, and this Jaylen Brown and Tatum supposed to be the kind of that next kind of duo for that. And yeah, they've had their opportunities. They're going their second title in the last 3 years, and but yeah, it's the franchise that that too. It's they haven't won one either since 2008. So it's been a while. Those fans have been hungry for it. So yeah, this has kind of been the year since the beginning. Like they got to get it done this year. And yeah, there'd be a lot of questions if they can't finish it. Of how does this team go? Moving forward, what do they do?
Yeah, very, very. We'll see. The NBA Finals starts on next Thursday night in Boston. Be the first time it started in Boston since that 2008 season, because you remember both times, the last 2 times they're in the finals, they started on the road. 2010, they started in LA. And in 2022, they started in Golden State. So it'll be the first time it started in Boston since they won the title in 2008. So it's going to be very interesting to see what happens with the Celtics. But We had another great overtime game between the Panthers and the Rangers. But before we talk about that, we are going to hear from our friends at JPEG Financial and Shamrock Home Inspections.
Do you have a 401k and some savings for future retirement, but don't even know if it's enough to live off of? How much is enough? How often are you thinking about it? The team at JPEX Financial Group can help set your mind at ease. We specialize in creating strategies in the planning and managing of your financial, educational, and investment needs. We help clients pursue their investment goals with sound financial strategies. You deserve a personal, tailored plan. Lasting, meaningful, and open relationships are the foundation of our practice. You've worked hard for your money and should feel confident in your investment choices as you make decisions for your financial future. Your goals are our goals. We are dedicated to your needs and hopes for your future. Visit our website and give us a call at 860-430-5397. Securities offered through Raymond James Financial Services, Inc., member FINRA, SIPC. Investment advisory services offered through Raymond James Financial Services Advisors, Inc. JPEX Financial Group, LLC is not a registered broker-dealer and is independent of Raymond James Financial Services. JPEX Financial Group is located at 78 Eastern Boulevard, Glastonbury, Connecticut. There's no bigger investment than home ownership. And to make sure the house is up to your standards, you need a professional to look it over. Brian Flanagan from Shamrock Home Inspections is a licensed home inspector and a member of the Connecticut Association of Home Inspectors. Brian was a contractor for over 15 years, so he knows how homes should be constructed and how mechanicals should work.
What makes me a good home inspector was the 20 years that I was a home improvement person, doing all the different repairs that I have done and what other people have done wrong that I had to go out and fix. So I have a pretty quick eye on seeing what's right and what's wrong. Before you move, call Shamrock Home Inspections.
Before you make the biggest investment of your life, call Brian Flanagan from Shamrock Home Inspections at 860-268-2566 or visit shamrockhomeinspectionct.com.
All righty, so we had a great game, another overtime game between the Panthers and Rangers last night. The Panthers even the series 2-2. Rangers, Alexei Lafreniere tied the game in the third period, but then Sam Reinhart with the game-winning goal. Panthers and Rangers even at 2. I mean, another great game between these two teams, but the big question is right now is which one of these two teams has the edge in the series? And I still think it's the Rangers. And it's two things for me. The way Shesterkin has played. I mean, the Panthers dominated that game on Sunday, and the Rangers still won. I think Shesterkin has outplayed Bobrovsky, definitely outplayed him in the series. That's number one. And number two, home ice. Best of 3 series. Rangers have 2 of these 3 games at home. They won the President's Trophy. I still think they have the edge in the series. I still think they are the team that has the edge in the series. And also another thing, the Panthers in big spots. We saw last year they lost the cup. I just don't trust the Panthers. I know they won the East last year. They went into Game 7 to meet the Bruins, but that was in the first round. In big spots, I don't completely trust the Panthers. Yeah, you don't totally trust the Rangers, but I completely don't trust the Panthers either. So that's why I still say the Rangers have the edge.
I have the Panthers just because out of 3 out of the 4 games, the Panthers have been the better team, and they could be up 3-1. Like, because the Rangers played a really good first period last night, and then the Panthers woke up and they dominated the last 2 periods and the minute and a half there was an overtime there. And then, 2, they've done a really good – and maybe this can change, but like Zibanejad's he hasn't recorded a point. Kreider hasn't either. Panarin got his first 2 last night. Bobrovsky's even got a point. He got an assist.
Yeah. So really, Lafreniere saved them because he had the goal. He had the big goal in Game 3 to put him 3-2, and then he had the big goal to tie the game last night.
Yeah, good. Yeah. And Goodrow too's had a really good series. He had 2 goals there on Sunday. He's had a really nice postseason. Even Vincent Trocheck's played pretty well. So, Bobrovsky hasn't been great, but that top line too of Florida's been playing really well. Reinhart, Bennett, Carter, Van Hagen's played really well. So the Panther top line too has been a lot better than the Rangers top line. And I guess you could say, well, the Rangers, the Bettinger and Kreider got to get going at some point, and that they're 2-2 without their top line really getting going. But the way the Panthers have played, some of the puck luck, goes against you. The Rangers, they've been getting dominated. So right now, I even though the Rangers have home ice, I just think the Panthers been a better team, and has really saved them and has kept this thing. Big reason why it's 2-2.
Now, what do the Rangers got to do to win to take the lead in this series and end up winning this series? I think you hit the nail on the head. Zibanejad and Kreider got to be better. Zibanejad, and they can't just keep relying on Igor. I think you hit the nail on the head when we talked about who had the edge in the series.
Yeah, those guys got to get going. The Kreider, Mika, Perrin got it going last night. You're hoping now that the Rangers get the last change here in Game 5. That they can get a matchup there with maybe kind of Florida's third or fourth liners, even though they're physical and they played pretty well too. Instead of having them go up against their top line every time, maybe that gets them going. But the power play looked good last night. They had some good looks there, so that's huge. But yeah, their top line's got to get going because Goodrow's played well, Lafayette's played well, but to win a cup, it's good to be deep, but you do need your top guys in big games to really kind of get some points and kind of get your team on the board. So hopefully those guys get going. But yeah, that'd be huge if they can get it going because the other lines have played pretty well this series, and they've picked up for their absence.
Yeah, and also they got to be better on the power play because correct me if I'm wrong, they still haven't scored on the power play, right?
No, not in the series. I think they're 0 for 9 now.
And you saw the Panthers last night. They got a power play goal to win.
Yeah, they did, and and I thought the Rangers. I think it was the first one last night. I thought they had some really good looks. I love the way they're moving the puck. It's looked better than it has this series. The power play. So I think that's a good sign that they're close to kind of breaking through here and getting one through. But yeah, that's got to be better because the Panthers got it done, and Mika. Talking about Mika, that was he put Wheeler in a horrible spot. He should have fired it in on the boards because Wheeler had no. That's the only play Wheeler had to make there. So yeah, Panthers had 2 power play goals last night. They had a couple on Sunday. So the other thing is too. They, I'm going to sound maybe a little bit as a Ranger homer, but, I think the Panthers a little bit embellishment. Like the Rodriguez, the elbow Trouba threw at, he was down for like 5 minutes, and I actually thought like he was seriously hurt, and he came back in 2 minutes later on the ice and was fine. Like, then last night, the first penalty, Gustafsson, gets called for roughing after Florida's kind of giving a couple of love tasks to Igor. Like, that's playoff hockey. Like, they're defending the goalie. I don't know how you call that on Guffer. So, think Florida for how physical they are, but also the Rangers don't have the puck, so it's tough for Florida to commit a penalty when they don't have the puck. But that's another thing. Like the Rangers kind of feel like a little bit kind of getting the short end of the stick there because Mika too. There was a 2-on-1 he got dragged down. They didn't call it, but they called Wheeler on Wheeler there late in the game. So that was the final. So that's the other thing too. Rangers do got to stay out of the box a little bit more too because the Panthers power play has been really good.
Yeah, it definitely has. It definitely has. And now going to the Panthers side, what do they need to do to get to win on Thursday night and get to their second consecutive Stanley Cup final?
For them, they're feeling pretty good right now. Tied 2-2 in the series because the way they've been playing. For them, Shesterkin's got to be a little bit better. Sergei Bobrovsky's got to be better. Gave up the 5 goals on only 23 shots of their day. His save percentage, I didn't see the updated one this morning, but like upstairs, his save percentage during the playoffs is like less than its percentage is like 0.795, upstairs. So the Rangers could kind of beat him upstairs, and he's got to be better there. That's kind of been a weak spot for him. I think the Rangers got one of them upstairs last night. So he's got to be a little bit better. And then their first line, it's been really good. The Reinhardt, Brigade, Burkhoff, they've been really, really good. That top line, they could kind of establish the physicality early, the forecheck, and they can get an early goal, man. It's really going to put their Rangers on their heels, and that place will get quiet very quickly if the Rangers go down because, and Florida's been a really good team on the road. They were tied with the Stars with the most road wins in the regular season, 26. So, for the Panthers, it's for Boston's got to play better, and their top line's got to continue to play well and maybe get an early one on Thursday night.
Yeah, and you made a good point about the crowd. They definitely got the Rangers got to go up to a good start on Thursday night, or the crowd will get quiet because that's what happens to these garden crowds. They start to they're excited. I saw this with the Knicks. They get excited, and because these teams haven't won in forever, they start to get pessimistic. They start to get really quiet once the other team gets up to a fast start. I saw it in Game 7 myself with the Pacers against the Knicks. That Garden crowd got really quiet really early in that game because the Pacers got off to such a good start. If the Panthers get off to a really good start, there's a very good chance they're going to win. They're going to win Game 5. As we remember, the Rangers were in this situation 2 years ago against Tampa, 2-2 at home. They actually had a lead. They had a 1-0 lead. They ended up blowing that lead and losing. So if they get off to a bad start, it's going to be. I guarantee you, with this crowd is going to be, here we go again in the conference finals.
Yeah, absolutely. Because the Florida teams have been kryptonite. The Lightning have gotten them. I know the Panthers haven't yet, but the Florida wins. It'd be the 5th straight year the Eastern Conference teams come out of Florida, which is insane. But
because the Lightning was 3 years in a row.
3 straight.
2 years in a row.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So Florida, not a hockey hotbed, but those 2 years they've been doing a great job. So yeah, the Rangers, it's been kryptonite. You know, we've seen it with the Lightning, the Devils as well. And where was that? 07.
That was 2012 and last year with the Devils. No, 2012 though, the conference final. And actually, they were in that same spot in 2012 too. They were in the conference finals and it was 2-2 and they lost to the Devils.
Yeah. Yeah, then they played the Devils 2 in 07, 08. The Devils, they blew it. They were up 3-2 the Rangers.
No, that was
I could be wrong.
It was 08, 09, the Capitals.
08. Oh, it was 08. Okay. I knew it was around that timeline, but yeah, we've seen it a bunch. 15's like for me, that was the most heartbreaking one because it was Callahan in Game 7. And that
yeah, that was heartbreaking because they won the President's Trophy. They had beaten the Lightning in Tampa. So we all thought they're going back to the finals. They're going to play the Blackhawks. They're going to go back to the finals. They're going to play the Blackhawks. And they lose 2-0 in Game 7. And that was another one where the Rangers just couldn't get anything going offensively. They lose 2-0. They lost 2-0 to Tampa.
Yeah, Callahan had the game winner, and that was my favorite play growing up. And for him to leave, definitely sucks. So so yeah, we Ranger fans have felt it. But yeah, they got to fire more shots on net. Hopefully Thursday night, and hopefully they find a way to get a couple past Bobrovsky because he's been beatable. And yeah, the way Igor's played again, it's it's like it's like watching the Wolfpack. The Rangers too are so bad at getting the puck out of the defensive zone. The Wolfpack, it's like watching the same team. It's an organizational thing.
Because that's how they teach it. That's how they teach it in the minors. Just let the goalie try to save you. It's been that way with the Rangers. Even the coaches have changed, the players have changed. It was that way with the Rangers with Hendrick, with Lundqvist.
Yeah, it has, and at some point they got to change. And was watching Hartford watching them last week. Like Hershey, their forwards are so much bigger than Hartford. Like it was just a huge side. Like that's it. Like they've been too finesse. Even the Rain, like they're too finesse of a team. Like Florida, you're seeing the forechecks. They got physical guys that can score, but also they'll lay the body on you. So that's the thing. You got to be like a little physical. You can't just be all finesse. And I think they got too many of those guys. And that's been the other thing is, when a game tightens up like this, they don't usually have many forecheckers that could make that big hit and kind of keep the puck in. Or so yeah, that's the thing. It's kind of been an organizational thing. And yeah, just again Sunday you got bailed out by Igor, but man, it's you can't win 16 games doing it like that. So be nice if the organization finally learns that, because you can't keep changing all these coaches and these players and expecting the same philosophy to try to change and work. It just you can't win a Stanley Cup doing it that way.
Exactly. So what is your final prediction for the series? Mine, still Rangers in 7, because I think they find a way to win one of these next 2. And we know outside of that Tampa game, and with this team since 2022, if you can get Game 7 at the Garden, I like their chances. Game 7 at the Garden, I like their chances to get to the final. And historically, the Rangers have played well in close out. Outside of that Tampa series in 2015, they've historically played well in Game 7s at the Garden. So I'm going to say Rangers in 7.
Yeah, I'll say they get it done 7 because I think because they could beat Bobrovsky, and I think the way Igor's been playing, it's going to be tough to steal a couple, goals on him. And I think at the Rangers, again, you saw it, they just got enough shots on Sunday to beat him. So I think the Rangers could still do it because of Bobrovsky. But again, if he locks in, he figures it out, it's going to be very tough for the Rangers to win the series. But I will say they get this thing done in 7. But I'm not feeling too great about that. But we'll see if they can get it done.
Yeah, we'll see. If the Rangers get to the finals, it'll be the first time a New York area team has played for a championship since the 2015 New York Mets played in the World Series. So it's been a long time. So Rangers, though, they're still, even though they lost last night, they're still 2 wins away from getting there. But we'll shift over to the Western Conference with the Stars and the Oilers. The Stars lead the series 2-1. Justin, we'll start with the Stars. What do they got to do to go up to go up 3-1 and pretty much put the series away against Connor McDavid and the Oilers?
For them, continue the road dominance. They've won 6 out of 7 games so far in the postseason away from home. Onber's goal against average in the playoffs been under 2 on the road in the playoffs. He's been unbelievable away from home. So that's number 1 for the Stars. Number 2 is they finally, Jason Robertson, their top scorer from the regular season, went 10 straight games without a goal and then the other night he had a hat trick. That top line of him, they got Robbie Henson back too, which is huge. And they got Tyler Seguin still on the right wing. So for the Stars, kind of that top line continues to play well. And then number 3 too is Einberger net. I think I mentioned last week, like it's the biggest differentiate. It's the biggest this is the biggest kind of matchup that the Stars have, the goaltending matchup with Einsberger versus Skinner. He's got to continue to play well. He played it really well. Got a couple by him the first period, but that ice was tilted the other night for most of that first period, but really played well the rest of the night. And if he continues to play well, continues to keep Edmonton kind of holds them to 1-2 goals, they're going to feel pretty good at the end of the night, and they should win those games.
Yeah. It looks like Dallas is the better. Edmonton has McDavid and Draisaitl. It looks like Dallas is the better team. But shifting over to the Oilers, what do McDavid and Draisaitl and the Oilers got to do to even this series and get to their first Stanley Cup since 1990?
Yeah, it's been a while. This is the last hope tonight for Canada to try to get that finals, get a team back to the finals, and get a cup since '93. So it's a big one tonight for Edmonton, for the entire country of Canada. But for the Oilers, they played a really good first period last night, the 2 nights ago on Monday night. But and then that was it. So the ice was tilted, and in this series, the Oilers have been outscored 5-0 in the third period. I mentioned it last week. The Oilers have not been great closing out games in the playoffs over the years. It's kind of been the same case for them even in the series. So they got to close. They got to be better late in games. They got to find a way to kind of get a couple past Einberg, and when they have a lead, to hold on to it. Number 2 is Skinner's got to be better. He's not a great goalie. I don't like him. At some point, they really have not been able to find a goalie the last couple of years. I think it's time to move on from Skinner. I know he's 25, but I don't think he's a long-term solution for you. I know the defensemen have not been great either, which does not help either. But Skinner's got to play better. I felt like he's given up a couple really bad goals that he should have stopped in this series. So, and even the playoffs altogether. So he's got to play a lot better. And then number 3 for them is tonight. You got to get up to you got to get a goal or 2 early on and just get a lead, because just like the Rangers, this is a crowd that has really seen the Oilers struggle in the playoffs of late. And you go down 3-1 tonight, you can kiss the series goodbye. So that arena is going to get very quiet if they go down early tonight, and they're going to have no chance. So they need to kind of get up early. Hopefully they hold on to it and they can make it a series and get up to tie that thing up 2-2 going down to Dallas. And you still feel like maybe you got a chance in this one, but they got to get out to an early lead tonight and hopefully, be able to play from in front and hold on to a game.
Who do you got winning this series? I got the Stars in 6. I think they're the better overall team. They had the best, and they had the best record in the Western Conference.
Yeah, the Stars are a really good team. I'm going to say they get done a 5. Dallas has been so good on the road. They've been excellent defensively. I don't trust this Edmonton team in the back end. I don't trust the goaltending. The Stars have lost 7 straight game ones, and since that, for whatever reason, I don't know why they start out so poorly in the series, but usually after that they play really well and they figure it out. And I think they do the same thing in the series. And I think the Stars go back to the get back to the finals and hopefully get their first one since '99. And think about it, the Mavericks hold on too. You got all 3 Dallas teams with the Texas Rangers have all made the finals.
Yes, all 3 Dallas teams make the finals, and guess which one did?
Yeah,
the Dallas Cowboys. The Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah, so.
Jerry should be watching this. Because his team has not even made it to the conference championship game in almost 30 years. And the other 3 teams in the city are very close to making it to their championships. Rangers win the World Series, Mavericks 1 game away from the finals, and the Stars 2 wins away from the finals. But we'll wrap up talking about a little bit of baseball. We got to talk about Ronald Acuna. Unfortunately, on Sunday, he tore his ACL. He is out for the season. And the big question here for the Braves is can the Braves still be a playoff team? Can the Braves still get to the playoffs without Ronald Acuna? And I'm going to say yes. I still think they're a playoff team because I just think their pitching. Their pitching is really good. Sale, Max Fried, and Lopez have pitched really well. Spencer Strider's coming back. Because of their pitching, I think they are, and I think their offense is going to be there. It's going to be there. I think their offense will bounce back. I think Olsen, Albies, and Riley will start to get hot. So yes, I do think they're still a playoff team. And another question is too, can they still win the division? I still think they can win the division, even though they're 5 games out. I don't think they're out of it. They won the division 2 years ago without Acuna. I know the Phillies are much better than they were 3 years ago. They didn't make the playoffs, which are already, but I still think they can win the division too. One player doesn't make as big of a difference as it does in basketball, or this isn't like losing a superstar in the NBA or a quarterback in the NFL. The Braves won the World Series 3 years ago without Acuna, so I do still think they can win the division and make the playoffs without him.
Yeah, I still think they can make the playoffs. Again, it's still a really good roster. The Braves, if they do try to trade for another outfielder, it's usually an organization that does a very good job of finding the right fit and finding the guy that's going to produce in that lineup. So, I still think they do make the playoffs. I don't know if they won. I don't think they won the division. I know the Phillies right now. It's been a tough West Coast trip. They've lost 3 in a row, and 4 or 5. So I know it hasn't been great swing, but the way the pit, outside of Walker, Wheeler's been good. Nola's been pretty good. Ranger Suarez has still got an under 2 ERA. Christian Sanchez hasn't been bad. I know Walker's been awful, but those 4 have been really good. And the Phillies usually start out slow and kind of start to play well at the second half of the year. And it's kind of, they've really got to a fast start and they continue to play well. I think it's be tough to chase them. But yeah, that Braves lineup, if that Braves lineup wakes up, yeah, like Olsen's having a down year, Ozzy Albies having a down year, Austin Riley's having a down year. So if those guys can get it going, I could see the Braves catching them and maybe find a way to win that division. But I think that's going to be a really, really tough one to do. I think the Phillies will win the East, but yeah, that's a team that should still make the playoffs and will be a dangerous threat in October.
Now, can they win the National League and win the World Series? And I'm still going to say yes. They did it. They did it 3 years ago with the same manager and pretty much the same team. I still think they can do it. I still think they can do it. I know Ronald Acuna is one of the top players in baseball, but I still think they can win the World Series and get to the World Series and win it.
Yeah, absolutely. With that rotation they got, if they're healthy, with Sale, Fried, and I know Morton hasn't been great, but he's been pretty good in the postseason. And you got Lopez. Those are 4 really good starters you could throw out there. Which is huge. And again, I don't trust the Dodgers. I got to see them do it. Outside of the COVID year. Milwaukee's had a really nice run, but they haven't been great in the postseason.
And they don't have the pitching they used to have because Corbin Burns is in Baltimore.
Yeah, so that hurts too. The Cubs I could see with that rotation. I know bullpen stinks, but they can fix that.
And they got to get a little bit better offensively too.
Yeah, that too. The offense got to get going. They could maybe be a little bit threatening, but like outside of that, the Phillies, they could still definitely win the World Series. I think that's a really good roster, and they've done it before. So I would, they could definitely definitely win the World Series. They've been better without the bye too. It seems like.
Yeah, it seems like they are. Maybe this year will work out for them. They get they get the momentum. They play in the first round. They get the momentum. So maybe it works out for them. But still, this is a big loss. But I still don't think this. Still think we'll see this team in October.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you should, especially the National League's not great. Like a lot of teams hovering right on 500. So I'd be really, really surprised if Braves team does not get one of the wild card spots. They absolutely should.
Yeah, I would be surprised they didn't either. Now, so we'll move on to the Yankees, and they've lost 2 straight. But the big question there is, the rotation's been really good. The lineup's been really good. That was great on Friday night when you saw Soto hitting a home run. You saw Judge and then Stanton. That was great. But the big question for the Yankees is, and I think, pretty much 2 of their last 4 losses have been because of this, is do you trust Clay Holmes to be the guy in the 9th inning? Do you trust him to be the guy? Because we saw in 2022, they kind of took the role away from him. At times last year, they kind of took the role away from him. He's blown a couple saves recently. I feel like that's the Achilles heel right now. They have a really good bullpen, but they're 9th inning guy. I feel like that's the Achilles heel with the Yankees. Do you trust Clay Holmes? I feel like I do because he's been good most of the time. Yes, at times Boone has pulled him from that closer role, but I still do. I still do trust him as to be the Yankees closer. But also, I wouldn't mind if there's a closer available at the trade deadline to go get one.
Yeah, I still trust Holmes. Like last night, it was the Rizzo error that hurt. Like if Rizzo makes that play, they win the game. And then that game at Seattle last Monday, all those hits were bloops. Like it wasn't like it was hard contact. I know he walked a couple guys, which isn't great, but he's been so good. It's not like he's getting barreled up. If he was, I'd be a little bit more concerned, but I think he's done a really good job of avoiding that this year. So I still do trust him, but yeah, you can never go wrong. And Cashman's been pretty good at finding bullpen guys. So, if he thinks there's another one out there, and Holmes too, he's got only a couple years left. And I know Steinbrenner said, it's the payroll is unsustainable. So, Holmes is probably gonna want big money if he's if his contract's, if he wants a big free agent deal. So Cashman's usually good at finding another guy, bullpen guys. It's been one of its positive things. So, I wouldn't mind either if they want to shore up that bullpen too for the month of October.
Oh yeah, they got it. And you saw someone saying, "Oh, we got what we need." Slow it down here. If you want to win a World Series, you got to make some additions. You got to make some additions in the bullpen, and maybe make an addition in the rotation. They have to make some additions. I mean, you can't just say, "Oh, we got the team we want." No, because other contending teams are going to make additions. You got to as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And they got some room in that farm system to give one or two of those guys away. And again, like Dominguez is going to come. Like you got Dominguez. I hope they don't trade Dominguez, but does Dominguez have a spot when he's on rehab? Is he going to go in AAA?
Yeah, because Verdugo's hit the ball pretty well.
Yeah,
Verdugo I've been critical at times of him being in the 4-hole, but he has hit the ball pretty well.
Yeah, he seems like he's done a really good job there. Volpe's on a 20-game hitting streak now. Like he's been on fire of late. Like, so you don't want to change this up. Like LeMay was batting ninth last night when he came back, and he said he didn't mind. Like with everybody hitting, he's got to kind of pull his weight and try to get back up there. But so yeah, they're gonna have to make one. It sounds like Cole's gonna be making a rehab assignment soon, which is gonna be huge, and you can add that guy to the rotation. The way the rest of the guys have been pitching is gonna be great. So that could be your starter kind of up trade deadline kind of guy is Garrett Cole. Well, but yeah, they got to make something. Definitely in the bullpen because I don't trust like a Caleb Ferguson. I know Ian Hamilton's been good. I don't know why Ron Marinaccio is stuck down at AAA. Like I don't get that one, but because he's been pretty good, but over the years since he's come up. But yeah, they got to make a move or two. You definitely don't want to stand pat, even though things have been great so far. Yeah, you definitely don't want to just stand pat here. You want to make some type of move. It doesn't have to be a major move. Just couple small little things.
Absolutely, yeah. Just something small, but we'll definitely be talking about it when that gets closer. And we'll move on to the Red Sox, and I think the big takeaway over the Red Sox this week, especially their series against the Brewers and their first game of the series against the Orioles, what's been their bread and butter so far, really struggled. What they've been counting on so far is their starting pitching really struggled in the two games against the Brewers, and then that first game against the Orioles. They won last night though. Rafael Devers hit the ball well. You get Bello pitched another really good game. But again, when you talk about the Yankees, this team is Breslow has definitely got to make additions for this team because I feel like this team is going to stay in it. I think they're going to be in it late July, hovering around that third wild card spot. Craig Breslow has got to make a move. If it's another starter, if it's another bat, or even another arm in the bullpen, Breslow has got to make a move. He cannot do what Chaim Bloom did last year.
Yeah, absolutely. They got to get something. They've had a ton of injuries, so you could add somebody to that rotation. You can add an extra guy. You can go get another bat. I know they're hoping Costa's gonna be back sometime in July. Obviously Story's on for the year. Or I know Tyler O'Neill's getting some. I think he already went back to Boston to get some imaging done on his knee. I know they were hoping it was soreness, but I think it sounds like it's more precautionary. I don't think it's anything long term, but they just kind of want to check it out. So hopefully he'll be back for them next couple of days. But yeah, it's a team that's going to be in it. We talked kind of last week that there's a lot of teams hovering around 500 right now. So they can get it going. They can find a couple ways, they can hang around, get a couple additions there to trade deadline. They're definitely going to put themselves in a position to make a wild card spot in the month of October. And the way the rotation's been, like Houck's still got another two. Like they could be a dangerous shred if that rotation still is still on the top of the game. Like it's had.
Yeah, you never know. You get in the tournament in baseball, anything can happen. Yeah. We saw the Phillies We saw the Phillies last year. We saw the Phillies 2 years ago. We saw the Diamondbacks last year. You get in the tournament, anything can happen. That's why the Red Sox definitely have to make a move at the trade deadline.
Yeah, absolutely. Because the playoffs have been like March Madness the last couple of years. Like it's been crazy. It's been very unpredictable. So yeah, if the Red Sox get in with that rotation, yeah, they could make a run, and they could definitely be a dangerous force. So yeah, they got to make a couple moves there because it was nobody really had high expectations. So if you just make the playoffs, it's gonna really encourage a lot of fans in that market.
Yeah, you give them a September of meaningful baseball. Because really, they've only had in the last 5 years, they've really had one meaningful September. That was in 2021. So if you give the fans a meaningful September of baseball, they're really going to appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely. Because the Patriots season could be over within 4 or 5 weeks of the year.
You're right about that. You're right about
Yeah.
that. With Jacoby Brissett starting, and then with the roster they got on offense, all their season could be about is they're probably going to be a bad team, breaking into young quarterbacks. So yeah. Those Boston fans definitely want something to cheer about in the fall.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, and actually the last thing too on the Red Sox, they're 9-0 on Sunday this year. So for whatever reason, they've been really odd staff.
Well on Sundays, yeah.
Yeah, they're playing well. They've unlike another team the last couple of years on Sundays, they've been giving the Boston fans a win.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens with the Red Sox going forward. But that's gonna wrap it up on Sports Talk with RNJ this week. For Justin D'Onofrio, I'm Steve Risser. We'll be back next week previewing the NBA Finals, talking about the huge series, probably the biggest series of the baseball season between the Yankees and Dodgers. They'll be in the Bronx next weekend, and talking about the Stanley Cup Final. Have a great weekend, everybody.
Hello, my name is Joe Aguirre. I'm the president of Clovercrest Media Group, and here at CMG we have a wide variety of podcasts, including sports shows like Keys to the City, The Roll Call, Throwing Jabs, All Four Downs, and Jawing About the G-Men, and great true crime shows like Sticky Meek, Crimes and Consequences, Ivy League Murders, and Bird, the unsolved murder of David Eichmann. You can find all these podcasts and so much more by visiting clovercrestmedia.com.